Conflict with your toddler? If you don't ever want to experience it, here's what you need to do. Number one, abandon all personal convictions relating to right and wrong. Forget about good, better, or best, or any insistence on a way of life that esteems other people as more important than self. But, hon, that is an unlikely philosophy to be found within our group of moms and dads.
I would agree. But moms, have you ever wondered why you might be expecting more from your child than your neighbor or the girlfriend down the street? Or why it might seem you're putting more training energy into your kids than other parents? What is it exactly that separates you from other parents when it comes to training? Here's how we explain this very important concept to our class.
In our first visit, we used the metaphor of a race to introduce a concept called separation. We said runners separate because of their abilities, but parents begin to separate because of their beliefs. So, thinking about separation and beliefs, let's consider a different metaphor to illustrate this point. I'm sitting here next to a very complex soundboard with many channels and dials that controls the volume and mix of music. If we take just one of the 7 major categories of general beliefs that we spoke of in our first visit, morality for example, we can demonstrate this principle of separation in what distinguishes one group of parents from another. I think most parents and people would be surprised to learn that it's not our beliefs that separate us from some parents and unite us in common bond with others, but the value we place on those beliefs. For example, if you polled 1,000 parents, 99% of them would say they believe and affirm the same social virtues for their children as you do with yours. They believe in obedience, self-control, courtesy, honesty, respect for the property of others, and the list goes on. The permissive liberal parent believes in the same virtues as many of our moms and dads who tend to lean towards the morally progressive side of parenting. But what separates the two groups is not what they believe, but the value they place on their beliefs. For example, you believe the virtue of obedience is important, so you give it this value, but it's not quite as important to your neighbor, so they place a value on it right about there. This is separation. The same is true when it comes to self-control. You give it this value when it comes to training, but for your neighbor, well, they don't have quite the same urgency, so they give it this value. And the same will be true when it comes to the virtues of kindness and respect. You place this value on it. Your neighbor places this value on it. I think you get the idea. Eventually you start to see a pattern of separation. In parenting, what separates us from other moms and dads is not what we believe, but the fervency and the commitment attached to our beliefs. We can tell you, the promise of a morally beautiful child that becomes a compelling testimony of God's presence on earth is both the motive and the future reward that awaits your diligence. This not only produces moral distinctness and separation, it identifies you with a community of like-minded parents, and that in and of itself has value.
Wow, and that illustration also helps to make sense out of the disparity even among Christian parents. It really ties back to Matthew 6:21. Where our treasure is, so are the desires of our heart.
Of course, because the human heart will always follow after its treasure. That is because we place greater value on the things that we hold dear. And that is what separates behavioral expectations that we have for our children from other families, even within the Christian community. But at least now, hon, our parents know why they may be experiencing more conflict than the nice mom down the street. You see, understanding the why of separation helps us keep our convictions aligned with our beliefs and our toddlers, well, moving forward.
There are a number of major transitions that children go through during the toddler phase. While in tonight's class we touched on each one listed in the workbook, we really focused on 2 of the most relevant ones relating to toddler conflict.
We hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to see more, and check out the growingfamilies.life website to find more resources and to get connected.